Well, as I said, Anthony Albanese appears to have zero relationship with Donald Trump, and the consequences are coming home faster than a hypersonic missile, which is ironic because we might not be getting those either. There are reports today that a $7 billion order for missiles placed by our government last year could be cancelled by the White House and the weapons redirected to allies who are prepared to sign up to Trump's defence funding agenda, something Anthony Albanese has steadfastly rejected. Joining me now is National Senator Matt Canavan. Matt, there's a global shortage of missiles due to wars in the Middle East and in Europe, and now we look like we'll be short of missiles, not due to technology, but due to diplomacy failures on the part of our government.
Well, look, this is a very serious issue for our nation now, James. I mean, the Prime Minister's excuses this morning that he would meet with the President when he meets with him. It's a bit like me telling my wife I'll mow the lawn when I mow the lawn. She's not going to be very happy with that answer, and I don't think the Australian people should be happy with the Prime Minister right now. We live in very, very concerning times. We've all seen on our TVs perhaps how close the world was to a wider war in the Middle East. We have seen almost interminable war in Eastern Europe for the last few years, and we have huge geostrategic issues in our own region. Because of those Middle East conflicts, on some measures, China has more aircraft carriers in the Pacific than the United States fleet does for the first time in history. A strike carrier group, the Nimitz Strike Carrier Group, was sent to the Middle East during the last few weeks. And it's absolutely essential that our Prime Minister of Australia, one of the biggest powers, biggest militaries in this region, meets with the United States President to discuss the strategic and defence concerns of our country. Because, as I say, we watch a lot on TV about what's in Eastern Europe and the Middle East, but there is a lot going on in our region, and that needs to be put front and centre of the President, and our Prime Minister is failing to do that.
Absolutely. Well, I want to draw your attention to an extraordinary report in the Australian Financial Review today, revealing the Albanese government didn't receive any formal updates on the readiness of our military for more than 2 years. The reports are supposed to be delivered every 6 months. A scathing Auditor General's report said Defence Minister Richard Marles had instead been kept up to date via conversations. Can you believe this?
It is unbelievable, and I think the Defence Minister deserves to be sacked over this. I mean, and the buck's got to stop with him. I don't know what the typical rules are, and don't really care whether it's 6 months or 3 months. But our Defence Minister should be finding out over a 2-year period: are we ready? Are we ready for a conflict? As I say, particularly given the geopolitical circumstances we face right now. The Defence Minister needs to answer why hasn't he asked his own department for a report, whether it was required or not. Why hasn't he asked them for a report about our defence readiness?
Well, Donald Trump has found an unlikely ally in the Albanese government, Kevin Rudd. Would you believe it? Our ambassador to the United States is suddenly full of praise for the very man he once warned that was a traitor to the West. Have a listen to what he said.
But again, to give President Trump his due, yes, he has always said that he does not accept the proposition that any US ally should be freeloading. So against when you've had various European states hovering around, 1 or less, right, to give the President his due, this has been pressure successfully applied.
Now, the irony here is Rudd is praising Trump for getting allies to spend more money on defence while our own government refuses to, the government he's representing.
Well, Kevin Rudd's being, what's the word, diplomatic. and
be a first for Kevin Rudd.
Look, he's probably doing a pretty good job at it. Good luck to him. But again, I come back to the buck stops with the Prime Minister. And why isn't the Prime Minister being able to use that kind of language to describe President Trump, to help get in his good graces, to serve and further the interests of our country? That's his number one job, to defend Australia. And it would make a lot of sense to give the President a few bouquets over the past week or so, because what's happened in the Middle East is remarkable and President Trump's played a big role in that. He might not like doing that. I think Anthony Albanese would have to swallow hard to have to compliment President Trump. But as I say, I think that's in our nation's best interests. And Kevin Rudd's doing that. Why can't the Prime Minister do it?
I want to flick to politics in Queensland. Former Queensland Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk has conceded that green hydrogen production is too hard, stating the renewable fuel doesn't stack up. Here's what she said this afternoon. Have a listen.
Hydrogen is proving to be in the too hard basket. The price is not right, so people are looking around solar, batteries, conversations around gas, making more gas supply available domestically. Energy is perhaps one of the most critical issues on the agenda. Hydrogen is just too hard at the moment. And until the prices come down, I don't think we'll see those projects taking off the ground.
Matt, that is very different to what she was saying when she was the Premier.
Well, you've got to give the Labor Party marks for chutzpah, right? I mean, there was just a couple of years ago, she was Premier of this state. The Labor Party raided a rainy day fund worth billions of dollars to waste, well, now we know, waste on hydrogen, and we're all telling us this is the future. These rainy day funds were put aside because all of the coal royalty revenues the state got, they knew they were going to lose money to the GST redistribution, which we've since found out. So they put money aside for that. Instead of leaving it there for when that happened, the Labor Party went and raided that money and gave it to the likes of Twiggy Forrest to build a white elephant in Gladstone. I went and visited that white elephant last week. There is no one there, basically. There's 3 or 4 people who work there now. There used to be 90, and it is a complete and utter travesty. We should get to the bottom. The Australian people deserve to know how much has been wasted on hydrogen by Labor government, state and federal. We need to know that. Why aren't we getting that any of that money back from the likes of Twiggy Forrest? And it should stop. It should all stop now. The federal government still has $9 billion in our budget of your money going towards this. It needs to end.
It was an extraordinary admission by Anastasia Palaszczuk this afternoon. The mind absolutely boggles. Matt Canavan, thanks so much for joining me tonight. Appreciate your time as always.